Now let me go over a quick explanation on how the system works. This is covered in the Rage Primary Part 1 video in very explicit detail, but I'll go over it a little bit here as well. Okay. Alright, at engagement, or I will call that idle, or whatever, the clutch is in this position, okay? What we have is these three arms swinging from the spider. See? Okay. Those arms are laying on top of the roller this roller right here in a movable sheave, okay? As those arms, okay, this is the position they'll be in right here. You can see them arms. See how they're laying right there up on, at approximately a 45-degree angle, laying on that roller. Well, as this clutch spins, centrifugal force pushes this arm down. I want it to go down. And what that does, it pushes this roller. See how it pushes that movable sheave down? My finger's in the way here. See that? As that pushes it down, it closes the clutch, of course, and shifts the belt up. Well, at the same time, these little guys here are forcing this movable sheave down. You've got second stage of cam arms with centrifugal force. They're swinging up. At the same time, pushing the movable sheave down as they contact that roller. See that? Everything's black, it's hard to see here. So, what we've got is we have a shift, okay? And as this shift is working, we have these little first stage cam arms. They push down to a point which is perpendicular to the axis of the crankshaft, or the center line of this post, and they stop shifting. Okay, they stop at probably approximately this procedure. If you see where these two sheaves are, okay, well, your belt's probably, oh, where my finger is, it's maybe at half shift. Okay, well, your belt at that point has got all this mass shoving it up. In the very beginning, this is where it's important, because the belt is on such a small diameter. You want all that force. You want to get a hold of that belt. Well, all these, you've got six arms creating the force to push this up. Once it gets to this point, these arms stop shifting. Okay, and the second stage cam arms finish their job. They push these shifts all the way together. Okay, forcing the belt to the top. Of course, forcing the belt to the top of the sheaves. Okay. Oh boy. Do a little better job showing this to you. See that? That's full shift. Okay. That's rock and rolling. It's wide open throttle down the track. Usually it takes a while to get down the track before it gets to that point. Now, we know that we can get to this point right here. Say where those arms are perpendicular. See that where my thumb is? Well, how about we say, well, you know what? The graph shows that it's just biting the belt too hard. It's RPMs just can't get up to peak power fast enough. So why don't we stop? Well, let's make them shift to, like, say, this point. We want to slow that shift down, or shorten that shift. Let's say, okay. Well, we can do that. We can push that arm and have it stop to this point with an adjustment on the back side of the spider, which it's a little set screw, okay. And I can take that arm and I can probably say, for an example, I can stop it right there. All right. So now what happens is this clutch shifts to, let's say, look at this arm here, this point here. Well, it hasn't shifted very far, has it? And then it stops. Now we've got six arms to this point. Now we got three arms after that point finishing the shift. So very adjustable. I mean, you can adjust out of situations. I mean, if you've got a track where you're spinning tires a lot, I would suggest hit it hard with everything you got. Throw the kitchen sink in and let these things shift the whole way. Now, if you've got a track where you've got a lot of traction and it's pulling the motor down at initial takeoff, well, then just shorten the shift up a little bit. okay? Another way to adjust these arms, and I'm calling this the first stage shift again, that's what we're talking about here, is to add mass to these arms, okay? And that's what we did here a little bit earlier in the videos. We added a 1 gram washer. Most time you're not going to need any more than approximately, I would say, boy, 4 washers is a lot. 4 grams is a lot. I mean, you better have a lot of horsepower if you add any more than that to these arms. So as you can see, it doesn't take a lot. They're pretty much set the way they come. I mean, we did a lot of research, and the weight that they are now seems to be a pretty good sweet spot for most cars. So, of course, we explained how to adjust, you know, the second stage cam arm as well. Okay. Now, all this stuff comes in a kit with your clutch. Okay. Most of these clutches that go out of here are going to be set up for a 7/8 wide belt. Okay. I'm not saying that we can do some special one-offs. We can change the shivs angles here for wider belts. Okay, but that's a special order item. Now, let's go for a quick overview of how to set this. I talked about how to adjust the spider arms, or the first stage arms, okay? It's important that we keep these arms at the same height. So from, like, say, bottom of this thing to the center line of that hole, we want them all the same, because if we don't, then one's going to shift for a certain amount of time, the other one's going to shift for a certain amount of time, and it's not going to be a fluid motion, I want to say. It could cause a little binding to the clutch. You have one arm pulling more than the other. It's almost like having one arm way more than the other arm, and that's another important feature too. You got to keep them all the same weight. So the way we can keep these all the same, a simple way to check it is, first off, I don't know how good your eyes are, but lay the clutch on a flat surface and measure to a certain point. I like to measure to the boss, you know, the top of the boss diameter. I'll lay a scale on there, and I'll turn the spider, and I'll check the other one, and I'll make my adjustments accordingly. Okay, scale. Most people can read a scale. You know, if you got good glasses, reading glasses in my case, within a 32nd, which is 30 thousandths, that should be close enough. If you want to get real technical, keep a pair of verniers, calipers with you, and you could. This is the way I do it. It's a lot easier for me. I'm a machinist, and this is stuff that I'm used to doing. Just do the backside of the caliper down to the table, record your dimension, and go and check the others. In this particular case, we're off a little bit, so some adjustment needs to be done there. Again, you can do that with your set screw on the back side of the spider. Okay, moving on. Common problems I see with customers have is they'll call me and tell me the clutch is binding, it's sticking. Well, 9 times out of 10, the reason that happens, and probably more than that, is these shoulder screws that are holding the cam arm in, these shoulder screws that are holding these rollers in, they over tighten them. Okay, when you over tighten this, it pulls these towers together. Okay, it distorts this stuff. There's a tight tolerance held between here for that spider to slide up and down in. Okay, if you tighten this up too tight, it pulls these two towers in, binds the clutch, it won't shift. You'll take 50–30% of the efficiency out of your clutch by doing that. Tighten these just until they're tight enough so they don't turn when the weight pivots. Okay, so just a nice snug little tighten or torque, just enough so you can pivot that cam arm and that screw does not go back and forth. Okay, and just use some common sense when doing this. And the same with this screw as well. Alright, the shoulder screw, just tight enough so that it doesn't rotate. You can see I can push on it with a wrench and I can't rotate that nut. That's all the tighter you want it. Okay, that concludes this video. Hopefully I've answered some of your questions. Now you can tune the first half of the track along with the second half of the track. Totally adjustable. Works very well with the tuner, junior tuner driven secondary as well. So if you haven't had a chance, go and take a look at that video. That explains how that system works as well. So have a nice day, and thank you for stopping by.